owning the liberals is, I never thought that we would even be here standing, even talking about liberals.
Meaning?
We're so left. We're so left. I just pray that the country turns around and we become one nation under God again.
Now, how much of this is about owning the libs being out here?
Well, what I'm most disappointed about is that our president definitely has dementia or something, and he's not capable of running this country. Something has to be done. It's actually very embarrassing. Every time he's on TV, he's tripping. He doesn't know which way to go. He's, you know, it's just sad.
At this point, you should know that the Republican voter base lives for and thrives off the notion that they are the superior group in the country and will do everything in their power to make the other side upset. But as Texas Republican Representative Chip Roy says, not everybody in that party is really thrilled with that strategy.
I've heard nothing but excuses for the 20 years that I've either been a staffer in this town, back in Texas watching it closely, or now back as a member. Nothing but excuses. Nothing but empty promises. One thing. I want my Republican colleagues to give me one thing, one, that I can go campaign on and say we did. One. Anybody sitting in the complex, if you want to come down to the floor and come explain to me one material, meaningful, significant thing the Republican majority has done besides, well, I guess it's not as bad as the Democrats.
Some of these Republicans might want to put a muzzle on Roy because he is saying the quiet part out loud about House Republicans and their failures over the past year, namely the speakership crisis, where we saw really a dysfunctional family in terms of Matt Gaetz throwing all these personal shots and jabs at Kevin McCarthy. And even one time he called him a squatter as far as his placement as the Speaker of the House. And that turned out to be true because McCarthy's tenure lasted very briefly as Speaker of the House. The other aspect is Republicans run on a platform of obstructionism, where the goal is to pass as little legislation as possible, much like the Obama years. And one other thing, you even had Democratic Representative Pramila Jayapal agreeing with Roy's message. So that just shows you how far off or how disjointed the Republican Party is when you have people like Pramila Jayapal agreeing with somebody like Roy. While it's always nice to hear a Republican say the quiet part out loud, Roy gives a great example of another crucial aspect of Republican politics: hypocrisy.
I'm sick and tired of it. I didn't come here for second place. I didn't come here for more excuses. I didn't come here to have the Speaker of the House assume the position and in 17 days pass a continuing resolution off the floor of this House through suspension of the rules.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. Roy, you're whining about the House passing a stopgap spending bill to avoid a government shutdown for the time being, even though just before you were standing up there complaining about how Republicans get nothing done. Chip, the government has to be open to pass legislation and for you to do your job. Let me remind you, the government has to be open to pass legislation and for you and your colleagues to do your job. So what you did just there, a walking contradiction. And regardless of what you think about the actual contents of this stopgap spending bill and government spending, we should all be very worried that there are elected officials out there who champion obstructionism and actively push for the government to be shut down, which just further proves that some of these people are not working in our best interests. They're working for their interests and then also their corporate overlords. Come on now. It's been going on for a while. Now it's just more visible, I think, because of the rise of social media and all the technology. But that's what some of them are just about. Making sure they are good and their families and then their corporate overlords. For Rebel HQ, I'm Chris Williamson. We'll see you next time.